Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of TNMCoaching Unplugged. And today I have a very, very special guest with me. I'm going to introduce her properly. But before I dive into introduction, I just want to quickly talk about the topic of this podcast, this recording. Now, more than ever in our lives, we're called to be present. We're called to be embodied. We're called to be right now, right here, feeling and sensing this life in the most remarkable ways. The reason why I invited Stephanie to join me today is because I was completely inspired by her dedication to calling people to the presence in these challenging times that we're facing right now in 2020. I was following her on Instagram in her daily meditations. I was showing up every day to witness her calling us, humanity, to be present in this moment right now, right here. And I was thinking, oh my God, we have to have her on podcast. We have to talk to her about her journey, about her life, and how did she even come to be so disciplined to show up for humanity on a daily basis. And I know some of you are already following her. If you're not following her, here is few information about Stephanie Canavesio. She is a meditation teacher. She has multitude of mastered healing modalities. She has also developed her unique approach with her guidance and teaching through compassionate inquiry and through meditative practices that are called Presence Embodied. You can find out more about Stephanie in presenceembodied.com. You would love her presence. She is truly extraordinary because she's going to call you to be present in the moment to help you restore your truest expression and presence of your consciousness. She's also very authentic because she's no stranger to limitations or addictive patterns or behaviors. So she's authentically walking her talk and sharing her life with you as powerful and profound meditation teacher and healer that she is. So, Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so touched.
So let's talk about the presence and presence embodied. What I would love us to start is this journey that got you to explore this topic and to, first of all, practice it for yourself and then to invite other people to practice it for themselves. So where would you like to start?
So thank you, Zoran. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to speak up. I just can say that I spent so many years being afraid to speak up with my own voice. And once I was able to see clearly and to notice how many layers I had developed over the years from my childhood pain and hidden behind my addictions and compulsive behaviors, and finally, understanding that it was precisely by acknowledging my own shadows and my own pain that I could get in like a catalyst and to transform myself and to find my own voice and to feel into what it meant to be present. And I can just say that I spent the majority of my life living in the prison of my mind. And I got tired of the suffering. But there was this part of me since a very young girl, probably when I was younger, it was more predominant, that always knew that there was this power, always knew that there was this strength and this pillar within myself. And I often touched upon like walking on a ledge between both worlds, between destruction, self-destruction, drugs, alcohol, and to this deep sense of knowing to follow that voice, to keep reminding myself, but I didn't have the tools. So that's why, that's a little bit how I stepped into this, how to develop the tools to step into the wholeness of yourself and to all of this incredible capacity of the frequencies of the heart that we've lost touch with.
Exactly. And you were saying that this inner voice was talking to you all the time. So it was there, it was present, and you were hearing it. And then you were wanting to step into that space, but you didn't have a tool. Did you have any kind of defining moment when you decided, okay, I'm going to listen to this inner voice? I'm going to jump into that space and start exploring and building my toolkit and playing with that space? Or did it happen just naturally for you?
No, no. I mean, there were many times. It was probably being hospitalized for alcohol poisoning, many times calling
Mm-hmm.
doctors because of terrible panic attacks. There was a
Mm-hmm.
moment when I learned to listen to my body. And my
Mm-hmm.
teacher, Dr. Gabor Mate, wrote an incredible book called
Mm-hmm.
When the Body Says No. And basically
Right.
speaking about how our bodies will, if we listen to ailments and uh, just noticing all of the chronic problems that we have as humanity now, and all of the
Mm.
cancers and all of the autoimmune
Mm.
diseases, that actually we have an opportunity as a humanity to uh, check in with ourselves and this incredible amount of stress that we put ourselves through, and
Right.
and the amount of energy we put to denying our own feelings and emotions is making us sick.
Right.
And my body, I was getting terrible headaches. I did hit rock bottoms several times and still would refuse to acknowledge that, for me anyway, alcohol, and I think, yeah, alcohol is a really big numbing
Mm.
agent for all of culture. It's legal, it's everywhere, it's accepted,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
does keep
Yeah.
it does keep us in a holding pattern as a humanity, and all of the binge
Yeah.
watching, Netflix, and all of the drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, it's keeping everybody at a stable point, thinking they're managing, but it's keeping us from channeling, because we are each channels, from channeling
Yeah.
our this incredible resource that we have within us.
Right. Right. I love that you shared that because this numbing and coping mechanisms are present in daily lives for a lot of us. I mean, everything that you mentioned, including the social media and being able to be hooked onto some kind of addictive behaviors all the time
Yeah.
just to manage. But you said, okay, enough already, right? So that was a moment when you said, okay, I'm going to move into this exploration. And what happened then? How did you begin evolving yourself into presencing yourself more into being able to overcome all of these
So I think
addictions or behaviors?
I can say, and it's something that I do want to speak a little bit more about. As a woman, as I
Mm-hmm.
modeled for many years, I looked in the mirror, and because of vanity, also when I was about 35,
Mm-hmm.
40, I started looking at myself and not liking the image of myself, of my
Right.
aging. I wasn't proud. I was feeling
Right.
fear of aging,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I, I didn't like that. It was like, whoa, okay, already as a model, when you're about 30, you're getting to the end of your career at the time. I mean, now you see a lot more models, but
Mm-hmm.
I was stopping my career, and I wanted to be proud of my age and my wisdom, and understanding that aging is a privilege, and it is something that
Mm-hmm.
we should be embracing, instead of what
Right.
culture is telling us, that it's all about youth. And why should I start be I started going into a phase of uh, self-hatred and lacking
Yeah.
self-worth, and also not having the tools, not having the resources to turn to. So I started creating, I started looking around. I started,
Mm-hmm.
and I had always had practices of with plant medicines. They had helped me to a certain
Mm-hmm.
extent, but I still wasn't present. I was still numbing
Mm-hmm.
myself with alcohol. I was still numbing myself with negative thinking. because I didn't realize, I thought on the outside, if I looked good, it was fine. But on the inside, I was criticizing and judging myself extensively. And so I started to study. I started to go study contemplative science, which is neuroscience and psychotherapy and Buddhism. Basically, the idea that we suffer, all of us. We all have these mechanisms in our mind of self-doubt and criticism. And as long as we believe in those stories, we suffer.
Yeah.
But as soon as we realize that it's just the mind that has created those stories and those narratives that run our lives, until we really take our power back and from the story and understand that we have the capacity to transform that. Like, I started asking, what is underneath the stories that is making my mind, because we are not our thoughts. That was a big one for me. We are not our thoughts. Yeah. Those voices in the head, the committee of people judging, noticing, they are not, they were there for a reason as a child. They kept us, they allowed us to survive. But we grow up, most of us have emotions of a 7-year-old. We get triggered.
Yeah.
And I work a lot with triggers. I think they're a wonderful way to get into what's really causing us suffering or pain or anxiety. So sorry, I got off a little bit on a tangent.
We can go into the triggers a little bit later on. What I would love us to focus on, so we understand that everybody, including yourself and most of humanity on a certain version, have a similar story. So here you are, you understood your story, you begin studying, and then you begin exploring and then teaching. So nowadays, when you teach people how to be embodied or present in the moment, what would you share with our audience? What is the way for all of us to start being more present, to start being more embodied? And what are the practices that we might look into and explore and talk about today with you?
So the best, most effective tool to enter within is our breath. It's always accessible. Okay. Whenever you breathe, it's always in the present moment. So if you're breathing and if you're focusing on your breath, so just taking 20 conscious breaths a day of focusing on each inhalation, using those moments of pause between the inhalation and the exhalation, and then following the exhale with your attention all the way out, and then lingering at the moment at the bottom of the exhale, and before breathing in again. And that simple practice of breath is very powerful, because when we begin by focusing on our breathing, we begin to understand how much of our days we spend in our thoughts, in our thinking minds. Because if you're just focusing on your breath, you can't think. I mean, because you're focusing on your breath. It's where it's the power of where you put your attention.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And our attention is all over the place as humans. We're this and then that, and then the email, and then this. We spend our days inhabiting this space, which is very limited. It's very useful. We have to love our minds. It's very helpful in certain situations. But unfortunately, it means that we're all living in this state of fight or flight, of me, and protecting ourselves and not opening up to what is happening externally. And what is it's tricky to explain, but it's the difference between open awareness and being able to experience the present moment and being present, having all of your senses open, listening to the sounds in the room, being present with whoever, being in a state of deep listening with whomever you are with, and being present, or being lost in thought. Because we have between 40 and 60,000 thoughts a day. And I really don't know exactly.
Wow, that's a lot of thoughts. That's a lot of thoughts, my God.
And there was a wonderful study at Harvard where on it being a scattered mind is an unhappy mind. Because 75% of those thoughts are either rehashing the past, thinking, analyzing, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Or projecting into the future.
Yeah.
Now, with what's happening with COVID, everybody is, all of our ideas, because it always was an illusion. We never had control over the future.
No,
but now everybody is like, all of this uncertainty is putting everybody into, there's a lot of fear about what's going to happen. And all of these, and the mainstream media, they're there to get us scared, because when we're scared, we can be manipulated, lied to, and controlled.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And then you can get into that space of your mind and being drifting in your scattered thinking processes between future and the past, and being lost in those thoughts instead of being present in the moment and witnessing right now, right here. So your first step, which is not that easy for people, I never understood why breath and conscious breathing is challenging for people, because I teach this in my courses as well. And we get people into the space of breathing, but then to practice and apply it on a daily basis, it's like we lost a little bit of understanding how vital that is, actually, isn't it?
You know why I think that is? It's, we are so used to not being, we are so addicted to being comfortable. And as soon as we turn our gaze inwards, as soon as we feel into the body, we have to learn what it feels like to be ready to face our own struggle, our own frustrations, our own resistance to feeling. Because if we're lost in our thoughts, we're not in the feeling body, we're not present. But being present means dealing with all of those repressed emotions and all of the things that we don't want to acknowledge or recognize, parts of ourselves that we think if we just keep on telling them to shut up and push them down, or have a drink or go on social media, they're going to go away. But the thing is, they not only do they not go away, they get worse, and they get worse, and they get worse, and then they get so bad. We have so much inflammation in our body, we get sick. So then we take pills, and we start finding ways to deny this huge amount of stuff that we're trying to keep down within our bodies. This is just my opinion. And
no, I love your opinion. And, as you're talking, I'm just thinking about myself, and I'm thinking about people that I've coached in the past. I'm thinking about humanity, and I can see it clearly. I can see that clearly, that our inability to face our emotions and to suppress them all the time and to turn them into something else. And then they stay there without us realizing they're there. And then they create all these diseases, or us not being able to feel comfortable inside of our skin. And you're saying this is all because we feel a little bit lazy, and we feel a little bit disempowered to look internally, right?
Yeah, we don't.
Or we want to feel comfortable.
If we were taught at a young age, if you had a parent that every time you were expressing yourself said, shh, don't talk, like it's not for kids to speak right now, be quiet, you learn, or you get ridiculed for what you're saying, or you speak too loud. And so everybody's saying, be quiet, be quiet. Or, we develop our personalities around things that happen when we're a child. That's why the work that I do with Gabor Mate, compassionate inquiry, is so much about getting to the roots of the emotions that are that might be even not aware to us that we're holding inside of ourselves. But once you give them space, once you allow for them to be there, you understand that all of the pain, all of the sadness, all of the anxiety, all of the anger, all of these are simply parts of ourselves that we have not given ourselves permission to meet, to be with, to hold. And
so when
and
somebody does
it's
this,
a daily practice. So
it's a daily
yeah.
practice. No. I just wanted to. This is beautiful what you're sharing. So when somebody engages in this compassionate inquiry, and he or she is willing to step into that space of meeting those emotions, what happens to them? What is the life like? What is the journey like?
It's so beautiful, Zoran, and I'm so glad to hear you. It is so much about it. It has a lot to do with giving permission. So we start each session with, do I have permission? Because so many of us don't feel safe in our bodies. Either we've had traumatic big T trauma or small T trauma. It doesn't matter. Everybody has had difficult experiences.
Yeah.
But the most important is giving the permission. And what happens is people, when in a very, with the container that's created in a very small amount of time, people or the client is allowed to go deep into these emotions and to feel them. Generally, there's very deep tears, and I always say that tears are true medicine, because by giving ourselves this permission to really squeeze and feel to the depths of the being and allow ourselves those tears. Many of those are tears that we've been holding in since a child.
Yeah. Of course.
So everybody is different. Sometimes it's in one session, and sometimes it takes longer. Many, it depends. Everybody's at a different level of their own healing, but it does begin with a choice, and we have that incredible free will as a human being to choose, and we can choose to entertain the thoughts of the fear, the thoughts of the anger and anxiety our entire life, or we can make a point in our life today, and from now on, I'm going to choose healing. I'm going to choose love. I'm going to choose awareness and being awake. I'm going to wake up. So it begins with an intention. I like to work a lot with intentions as a focus. And yeah, it's a very beautiful process of uncovering parts of ourselves.
So today I'm going to wake up. Today I'm going to be aware.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to embrace life and as consciously as I can. Today I will be present, right?
Yeah. And learning to embrace the challenges, because we each have our own challenges every single day. It's part of being human.
Yeah,
there
learning.
is but instead of running from them, understanding that every challenge is specifically there for us to either meet with our full presence or to ignore and to be, to hide from or run from. And the understanding that when we face the challenges, we grow. And because I also denied them for many, many years by numbing myself, I know exactly, sometimes we're not ready. You have to be ready. You have to really but I also have to say, something very special is happening right now on the planet.
Yeah.
And there has been an acceleration. And a lot of people are waking up. There's this incredible amount of support. I believe that we have support from all the other realms right now, our ancestral realms, the angelic realms, all of the light beings.
Yeah.
And And we have the support of one another as humans.
Yes.
If we open to it, it has to, in order to receive, we have to open our hearts.
Yeah. So just to summarize so far, because the bigger question was, how do we get into the present moment? So one level of presencing, it's learning how to breathe consciously and getting in relationship with our breath for us to be able to stabilize our mind and for us to be able to be right now in this moment available. And the other one, it's embracing our emotions and showing up fully to feel life, to feel that presence and not hiding, not numbing, not escaping, but choosing. And it's a choice and giving permission to yourself or to anybody who works with you to get you to that space when you can really feel yourself on a deeper level, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. It's a big, it's a great journey because, we are also trained not to do it, as you said, through our childhood. I love what you shared about, conditioning from your early ages when people tell you to be quiet, don't express, shut down. For example, with my son, I've been conditioned every time I was to express my emotion, it would be don't, be strong, be powerful, be man, blah, blah, blah. With my son, for example, every time he was vulnerable, I would say to him, great, cry. This is a good thing. It's great to be vulnerable. You're showing the strength by being vulnerable, because I really wanted to condition and support him to be able to be in relationship with his emotion without feeling guilt, shame, or shy, or whatever you can feel as a result of oppression. So that is, for me, a very, very important space right now that we're opening for humanity. And as you beautifully said, there is so much going on and so many of us are waking up. So those two things are important. Anything else that you would love to share for our audience when it comes to what else can they do to be more present in their life, in addition to being in relationship with their breath, being present to their emotions, showing up to life? What else would you say it's important at this moment in time?
Be willing to change. Be willing to acknowledge when you make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I
Tell me
think,
more about that. Tell me more about being willing to change and being willing to acknowledge mistakes.
I think it's so powerful when you said when you were a child and you were told to be a man, to be powerful. So I think about people in power, maybe heads of business, heads of companies. I think myself, when I see someone in power that is willing to accept that they made a mistake, it's I don't know. I just find it so comforting. And as a parent, also to teach your children, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to think, it's okay for us right now during this crisis that we're going through. Maybe we believed one thing, but then maybe it's okay also to reevaluate every single day and to acknowledge that maybe I wasn't right. Like maybe I don't have to be right. Maybe you can have that belief and I can have my belief, and I can just accept that there's enough space for both of the beliefs. It's having that flexibility in the mind of acceptance. And for ourselves, understanding that we can make a decision. And I'm very, I also, on another side, how it is very important to make a commitment. And you said at the beginning, I have this discipline. I think when we're on that spiritual path, we have to stay true to ourselves. But staying true to ourselves means also being able to change your mind about things. It's always staying attuned.
It's always staying attuned and being flexible. And I think that we all called to be that. There is no space for being rigid any longer, for holding yourself. This is who I am. This is my identity. This is how I am. I cannot be flexible. It's amazing for us all to be able to reevaluate ourselves and to be flexible and willing to change. Because I've noticed, if we are not willing, if there's not a will to change, you can't really support and help somebody change, or they're not willing to change. That's it. So you're saying openness and willingness to change is really important. And then you also said being able to be vulnerable enough to say, well, I made a mistake here, right? So I'm
Yeah.
willing to transform. It's a learning experience, right? Life is about learning. You mentioned
Yeah.
that each and every challenge you receive in your life is there to help you show up fully and embrace that as a lesson, as a learning. So if you are in mistake, so what? You just made a mistake. You just own it, right?
Own it.
Mm.
Yeah. And on a daily basis, having practices of self-love
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that if we each loved ourselves unconditionally, how we show up differently in the world. And it's very difficult practice. It's not and it has nothing to do with I love myself. It has to do with a deep sense of acceptance and forgiveness for everything that we've done in the past, and understanding, not making things right, but not holding on to that resentment towards ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and towards our families and towards relationships, getting to a point of full acceptance.
I would
It's
love to be there.
yeah.
You described self love so beautifully because I would love to kind of explore this a little bit. We have like 10 minutes more to talk. I would love to explore that space because you gave a wonderful definition, linking that unconditional love to a deeper self acceptance for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
But the thing about it, and I will do practices every day with this because
Mm-hmm.
it's a daily practice. And
Mm-hmm.
and as I said at the beginning, the portal is by acknowledging where we're struggling or feeling frustrated or where we're feeling the internal battles.
Mm-hmm.
And then learning what it means to turn towards your own areas of self-hatred or struggles
Mm-hmm.
with kindness and gentleness, because we're all doing our best as humans. And these are hard times.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's a very subtle shift of turning towards yourself with compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're holding your own child, like you're holding your son, as you
Mm-hmm.
told him,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here, you can cry, you can be vulnerable, but turning towards yourself and
Mm-hmm.
holding yourself that way. And that's very, very, very powerful. And you can just
Mm-hmm.
put your hand on your heart and close your eyes, and you can imagine the hand of
Mm-hmm.
the divine, however you see that,
Mhm, mhm,
or a hand of your wiser, more
mhm,
compassionate higher self, and feel what it feels like to hold your heart
mhm,
and allow the touch of your breath to go in and out of your heart.
mhm,
And just feeling anywhere as you turn within any resistance, any tightness, any difficult emotions, and just allowing for them to be there, welcoming all of the parts of you. And every time you find your mind wandering, bring your attention back to feeling the hand on your heart, aligning to your breath, giving yourself space to feel into your own being, literally holding yourself with compassion and allowing any sensations, if you feel quivering or aching, allowing for them to be there. the process of healing has a lot to do with alchemizing our dense emotions. And turning them into wisdom, deeper understanding about who we are and why we're here. And so filling up your heart with radiance, love, and feeling that divine resonance that flows within you, that deep sense of knowing that we are all here for a higher purpose. And that purpose is to grow and evolve our humanity. And then filling up your heart with a sense of gratitude for all of the blessings in your life, all of the beauty.
Mm.
And just noticing if your presence is shifted by opening your awareness, if your mind feels more open, receptive, sensitive.
Wow. Wow, what a wonderful presencing experience. Right, right. It's just so simple, isn't it?
Yeah. And we each, it's like, so we did that. But then throughout the day, when you're having thoughts, you're noticing yourself worrying or doubting, that simple act of noticing is so powerful. Noticing maybe you said something that didn't align to who afterwards you thought, oh, why did I say that? That was kind of odd. And slowing down. So like Viktor Frankl says, between stimulus and reaction, there is a space. And in that space is your freedom.
Yeah, to choose.
Yeah. Exactly. But you have to slow down. And slowing down, if you've been in a machine that's moving really fast for a long time, it takes a little bit of time to reel back in. That's why I do encourage people every day to practice, because very quickly the mind is very quick and strong. It'll come in and take over. You have to really, I encourage everyone to practice every day.
So to leave our audience, I mean, this meditation is also a gift, wonderful. And that's something that I'm sure everybody would love it. And to leave our audience with few practices of exploring self-love or connecting deeper to self-love on a daily basis, in addition to us being present through meditation, through acceptance, to embodiment. Anything else that you would love to leave audience with when it comes to this self-love?
So a couple of things I think, or I know if you can get a blank notebook and journal, writing out. Even I love The Artist's Way. She's it's a very old ancient book from the 80s, I think, of writing out, stream of consciousness writing for 2 or 3 pages, just writing, it's like purging your mind. I do encourage everyone, no matter where you are, to get into nature and to walk, touch the ground, be connected as much as you can to the water around you. Go to a river, go to a lake, go to the sea, go to a park, as much as you can be in nature. Take care about what you're putting into your body. So understanding that the nutrients that we eat are developing, it's really important, our microbiome. So, our immune system really has to do with the type of foods we're eating, if it's local, if it doesn't have pesticides, if your water is clean. All of this is very important, what we're putting into our bodies. So an act of self-love is eating well, eating good, nutritious foods. And walking in nature, sitting in stillness. You don't have to meditate, but just being still and lying on the bed or walking into a room. I always put my hand on a heart, hand on the belly if I'm feeling overwhelmed, whether it's in the car, not driving, of course, but I stop. I just do the 20 conscious breaths. So just focusing, you might want to say as you're breathing, I'm breathing in and I know I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out and I know I'm breathing out with each breath to keep your mind, or counting the breaths. And doing those or even 5 minutes, I don't know, 20 breaths, 10 breaths, any practices you can do to become present you'll see a shift in your life, subtle shifts. You'll be noticing more, and every day a little bit more. And then also being gentle when you slip up and you lose your presence and you have a hard night or whatever. You just also expressing compassion. It's the spiritual path. My teacher says you give 20% and you get back 80%.
I love that.
Yeah, you have to just be willing to do the work, because it's work.
Yes.
Instead of taking the drink or instead of shouting at someone, you say, okay, I'm going to own it right now. I'm going to see what's happening within me. And that's the work. The work is getting curious about what gets triggered, getting curious about pain. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and sharing. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being part of this broadcast and this podcast. I'm sure we're going to hear more from you and invite you to deepen into certain things that we touched upon. And I'm 100% sure that our audience will benefit on so many levels, because it was a wealth of knowledge and information and also sharing. So thank you so much for coming and being our guest today.
Thank you so much, Zoran. Thank you.